The United States is getting set to exempt steel and aluminium from high tariffs, albeit with riders. India is getting caught in the crossfire of the trade war between US and China, and that's been a big fear for India's metal industry as well as the markets at large. Let me go across to my colleague Parisha Tyagi, who broke that exclusive story for us. Hi Parisha, India had said it was going to retaliate to the US move, hike tariffs on a whole host of US imports, but it seems as if the bonhomie is back. The two are set to arrive at a good agreement.
Of course, Nandara, even when India announced the decision of increasing import duty for US products, it had done so with a window of nearly 1 to 2 months. India had made this decision of increasing tariffs on US products in March, but those tariffs were to be effective from August 4. As the deadline approached, India further deferred the decision by 45 days, and in the meantime, the diplomats from both countries were conducting negotiations, and finally what we are hearing from sources is that they have reached a deal where US has agreed to allow Indian exports without tariffs, but nearly 70 to 80% of what India has exported in last 5 years. India, however, is pushing US for a complete waiver, and now it has further deferred its deadline for retaliatory tariff to November 3. The talks are on, the negotiations are on, and India expects to achieve a complete exemption for its steel and aluminium imports by November 3.
So let's see how this one pans out, but it does seem as if US is getting set to exempt imports of Indian aluminium and steel with riders. Let me take that conversation forward with Mr. Ajay Dua. He's of course a former secretary of the DIPP. Mr. Dua, good afternoon. Hello. This is Nantara. Yeah. We're talking to you on a day where ET now has broken a story of how there may be some agreement between India and US, exemptions to India when it comes to steel and aluminium, and against the backdrop of once again heightened tensions between US and China, a new set of tariffs coming in place. China just a few minutes back has promised to retaliate. How should we look at all of this, and should India continue to be worried about being caught in the crossfire? It does enjoy good relations with the US.
I think this is certainly something we need to be worried about, because the tariffs on an increased number of items, even though they might be of Chinese origin, impact everybody. I was reading only the other day that because of duty protectionism, if the trade comes down, the global trade comes down by even 10%, the global GDP stands to suffer by about 1.5%, which I think, given that the world is growing only at about 3.5% a year, 1 to 1.5% is a significant amount. That means a trade war, a full-fledged trade war of the kind which we are now seeing between China and the US, the two largest economies in the world, is something which no one should be relishing, because ultimately you might get short-term benefits if you plug yourself into the supply chain, and some of the items which China was exporting to the US, maybe we can start exporting to the US, or what the US was exporting to China, maybe somebody else steps in. All those things, to my mind, are short-term changes, short-term movements to take advantage of a developing situation, an emerging situation, but not necessarily good for the world or for most of the large trading players in the world.